side. Get what we need.
And this is this week's Classic Classic.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you can hardly believe your eyes, but we are live. It is Monday evening, August 27th of 2007, as Sports Call begins its fourth fabulous year here on BCAT. But before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, we never had a chance to say goodbye to you after last season. So from all of us here at Sports Call, goodbye. Have a great summer. We'll see ya. Take care now. And we're back. Oh, no. Welcome back. And we're saying now hello to the great 2007-2008 season. As with me, as always, Paul Strati, voice of the Red Devils and all-around sportscaster of the year here at BCAT. And we're pleased, as this is our football preview program, to have with us Ken Kotelly, sports writer from the Daily Time Chronicle, Gazette Tribune Messenger.
Hold your applause, kids.
And we are also hoping to hear from Doug Hastings later on via telephone, as Doug is flying over the Soviet Union dropping pamphlets of freedom. So anyways, it is a great new season, and we are here and really pumped about all the sports that's coming up this year for Burlington High School sports.
Yeah, and we're starting off Burlington again. Fantastic ride last year to the Super Bowl. Came up a little bit short, but the trip to get there was fantastic. We had a ball doing the games, following the kids.
Yeah.
It was an exciting year, and this new team coming in, as Kenny will tell us, 17 starters from last year graduated out of 22 seniors. So you're going to see a lot of new faces this year, new quarterback, backfield, offense, defensive line, secondary, the whole team basically. We've got 5 or 6 kids coming back.
Yep.
So other than that, you're going to see a whole new Burlington team. And as always, we have our friends next door, Woburn, who are going to be, I think, the favorites this year going in to start the season. At least one of the favorites. And again, Burlington though is going to have that that onus on them as Middlesex League champs. I mean, something they have never ever been able to say. They've been co-champs, but all by themselves. They ran the table last year, so it should be. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So Ken, how's it looking from your point of view?
Well, here's the scoop. The Red Devils, as the defending Middlesex League champs, lost 17 starters from last year's team and have just 5 returning starters. Among the 5 starters are their 4 captains, Kyle Pierce, Alex Miliano, Ben Mullen, and Mike Kakazian, who will all be very highly depended upon for leadership this season, as well as their fine play. Kyle Pierce will be their primary wideout at flanker. Last year, as a junior, he caught 14 passes for 194 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's also the top kickoff and punt returner. Last year, he had 2 kickoff and 2 punt returns, both for touchdowns, including, as you recall, the one in the Woburn game.
Right.
When they were down 21-14, and he had the kickoff return for a touchdown that tied the game and ultimately helped Burlington win that game in overtime. And he also plays cornerback on defense, where he was 5th on the team in tackles last year with 41 tackles.
It's been a busy year.
Yeah. So he'll be one of the kids that's really highly depended on. And the other one will be Mike Kakazian as a running back. Last year, after Garrett Redfern went down and Ted Marmonitis became the top running back, Mike Kakazian settled into that number 2 role very nicely last year. ran for 542 yards on 62 carries and 7 touchdowns. So now he'll be the top running back most likely in the backfield. And then in the defensive backfield, you'll have Alex Miliano at strong safety last year, 11th on the team in tackles with 26 tackles. And finally, Ben Mullen will be their top lineman, the only returnee on the offensive and defensive line. Last year he was the offensive guard, and he'll be back there again this year. So those are your 4 captains.
Yeah,
Guys.
and the veterans on the team.
Yep, they'll be the ones to most relied upon for not only their play, but also for leadership for the younger kids that are coming in.
So talking about the younger kids coming in, any new guys that are looking incredibly spectacular? Or?
Not yet. I've only been to the one scrimmage they had this past Saturday against Wilmington. The one thing I did see were the 2 kids competing for the starting quarterback position right now. Senior lefty Matt Roderick, who completed a few long passes on Saturday against Wilmington, and the junior righty Brendan Farley, who also looked pretty good on Saturday with a couple of nice passes. So those are the 2 kids competing at quarterback, and then you have, of course, Caucasian and Matt Valley competing at the running back position.
I think it's true though, Kenny. If McGuire goes to form, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you got a junior and a senior here.
That's what
Of equal talent,
Yeah.
he's usually gone with the younger kid just so he could have him for a second year.
Yeah.
Because he has that complex system there where they, the armbands and everything they wear in the play, and that's, for again, both of them have been weaned on it, so they know the system somewhat. But as a starting quarterback, that's pretty tough to pick up. And I would think that if they were equal in talent, and this is just my perspective, if they were equal in talent, you'd maybe go with the junior kid so you could have him for that second year,
Yeah, I remember he did that with both Ben Reed when he was just a sophomore, and then Danny Walsh when he was just a sophomore.
Right, exactly.
So
Wasn't Colangelo in there too? Mike Colangelo, wasn't he throwing a bit? Or at
He
least
did
at
for a while,
first?
but Mike Colangelo, he was small, and he took some hits back there, and he kind of got faded out, and
Walshy got faded.
yeah. I mean, Walsh had the arm, the size, and the athletic ability, so it really made a difference. But I think that to run that system and run that offense, he's going to need somebody that, that understands that system, because it is a complex system that he has in place.
I guess it's tough when you're the head coach and you're used to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
You're going to put a lot of focus on the quarterback position.
Yeah, especially with both of these guys. I mean, they saw some action last year, but not a lot. It was usually in pickup or garbage time. And
fourth quarter against Watertown and Stoneham.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I
they
think
alternated series, so one
Farley
would go in for
was
a
in
series, and he would come out, and the other guy would go in for a series. So we didn't see a lot of them. I was impressed, though, with when I saw Farley in there. I remember him. So, see how it plays out.
Yeah.
It should be interesting.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, what about the linemen? We got any heifers up there?
Well, like I said before, Ben Mullen's the only returning lineman, and he's a big kid.
Yeah.
They have a few kids that may have come up and played, like in the fourth quarter of, games that they had already had won that I'm not really familiar with yet.
Yeah, I'm looking at the roster
but-
from last year, Kenny, and just one kid that jumps out at me right away is this Kenny Ayer, 6'3", 325 pounds.
I'm sure.
As a sophomore last year, so that's a little beef there.
Yeah, I'm sure Coach McGuire is going to find kids to beef up that line that were on either freshman or JV last year. So we'll see. They still got the scrimmage this Wednesday at Wellesley and Friday night at home against Lowell.
Yeah, because everybody looks at the key positions, but that line is going to either protect your quarterback or are going to open up some holes for your running back. So you have a good offensive line, you make these other positions look good.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
So we need some beef.
Yeah, it does start with the line. You got to build from the line out. And I know as Belichick was thinking about after the second exhibition game they had, and Brady was getting destroyed.
Right.
He knew he had some work to do, get back onto that line.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at last year's roster, and I'm going through it, and there's some sophomores on here that the sophomore class looks like it's going to be the class that maybe carries this team this year because they're juniors now.
Yeah.
And there's some decent size on there. You got some 225s, 214s. You know, you're looking at some kids here, Sterling, Smith. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, good. I know some of the veterans went to look at the scrimmage. I heard some of the guys that were in for college.
Oh yeah.
Before they went home, they all wanted to go to the scrimmage.
Yeah, I saw a couple of them there.
Yeah, because even after you graduate, you still bleed Red Devil red. You know.
Yeah,
You're a hanger-on for a few years.
Yeah,
anyway.
and those kids were very close as a team last year. I mean, they went through a lot, and they're like brothers. So I mean, they keep an eye on one another. The younger kids coming up now, and like Kenny said, for a couple of years they'll be around.
Oh yeah, a few years anyway. So.
Well, so football has got the thing about football this year. It could be anything. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see how McGuire puts together some of the new guys. He doesn't have a lot of old guys to put with him, but it'll still be an exciting season.
Well, you got a freshman team that had a very good year last year. So that feeder program is working well. So you got a lot of freshmen that are going to be sophomores this year that had a very good year last year. So that ought to be like a good feeder for this team.
Yeah. See, the thing we don't know about is were there any real
studs there that really stood out. Yeah. And like you said, with the limited senior class, you only have 5 starters coming back. The thing that might be missing is that senior leadership that we saw last year with those 17 starters. Those 17 starters kind of governed themselves out there last year. So that senior leadership might be, it's probably take a couple games for some of these guys to step up, and that could make a difference. I mean, we don't know too much about Malden Catholic, which is going to fill in this year for Watertown.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that. We were talking a little bit about Watertown before the show actually started, and that they're actually taking a break from football.
They're taking a 3-year sabbatical.
From the Middlesex League.
From the Middlesex
They're
League.
still playing though, right, Kenny? They're going to
They
play
are
selective
playing an
teams?
independent schedule.
Right, okay.
They'll play, I think, 10 or 11 games against, actually 4 of their games are against Middlesex League teams,
Right,
but
I
they're
thought
not
so.
officially league games for
okay.
either team.
Yeah.
They're going to play a non-Middlesex League or independent schedule for 3 years, and then 3 years from now, they feel that at that time, they'll be able to rejoin the Middlesex League by building up the middle school program right now. So when those kids mature into the high school level, that they'll be able to compete against the best teams in the Middlesex League at that time.
Yeah, I understand also to build up their confidence, they're actually having them play the girls field hockey team, which should really could hurt a couple of girls, but I think it might boost their confidence a little bit. And then they're going to take on the swim team, I understand too.
Yeah.
Which is tough. They're tough.
Yeah, the swim team, but they'll have their Speedos on, so I think real advantage to the football team at that.
Well, that program though, for as far back as I can remember, Watertown was always a tough program for football, to be competitive with the rest of the Middlesex League.
They won a couple of league titles in the 70s and 80s.
Right, but now the
after
program
that,
has really fallen off dramatically, and
Yeah.
I don't know if this, we were talking off air, whether this 3-year program will work or not, because you figure anybody that has any type of talent or anything like that in Watertown, the program is in jeopardy now as it is. And same thing with Stoneham. Stoneham got a reprieve.
I know
here at
Watertown
a lot of kids are
dropped
gonna-
out in softball this past spring.
So you're going to lose maybe a lot of those kids to private schools or a Catholic school or something like that. So whether the 3-year sabbatical is going to work, it's really hard to say.
Remain to be seen. But listen, we have to take our break because we are done with our first quarter action for this evening. So we're going to take a slight break, and we'll be with you in just a few moments. Stay tuned.
Winston, just one more inning, Grandma.
Ever notice how many things today kids can do without actually moving? A whole lot of things their parents used to do the hard way. So many kids' activities today seem to leave out the activity part, which makes exercise even more important for children. In fact, new research tells us the best time to enhance bone development is during childhood and adolescence. And just getting children to walk an extra 35 minutes a day could spare them the pain of thinning bones later in life. Healthy bones come from healthy habits. Encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving.
Hello. Hey, Grandma, how about another grape soda?
For more advice on how kids can build strong bones, visit aaos.org, a public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
When you mentor a child, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be yourself. Do good. Mentor a child. Call 1-877-BE-A-MENTOR.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
Parades, conventions, fun, and friendship. The Shriners have a lot of proud traditions, but none they're more proud of than the Shriners Hospitals for Children. I know, I'm a Shriner. The Shriners provide world-class orthopedic and burn medical care to kids, totally without charge. And they combine that care with progressive research and innovative teaching programs. There's a Shriners Hospital helping kids from this area. For more information, call this number. Shriners, giving help and hope to kids for over 80 years.
All right, just before, let me know.
And we're back. Welcome back to second quarter action here, folks. I just want to remind everyone before we get started, first of all, we have a new crew member. We have Jeremy Cox behind the big camera. Jeremy, welcome to Sports Call. Nice to have you here. And we only have Paul for another quarter action. So, Kenny. We have Paul for the rest of the show. Thank goodness. But we only have Ken for another quarter, so we got to make use of him as much as we possibly can. So, Ken, what is, if we're done with Burlington as a team, what's the rest of the league looking like?
Well, right now, Woburn looks like the preseason favorite in the Middlesex League. As you know, of course, they were the second-place team last year behind Burlington at 9-2, and they return 11 starters from last year's team, 6 on offense, 5 on defense. Last year, they had those two really good running backs, the two Ryans, Silvonic and Ferroni. Well, they lost Silvonic, but they still got Ryan Ferroni back from last year's team. Last year he ran for over 1,000 yards and I think 7 touchdowns. And they still got their quarterback returning, Dan McLaughlin, who last year threw for over 500 yards passing. So, and I think, yes, they do have their tight end as well back, Mark Dwyer. Mark Dwyer. So they got Ferroni, McLaughlin, and Dwyer all back from last year's team. So they'll be most likely the preseason favorite in the Middlesex League. The other team that'll be real good is Wakefield. They did lose a couple of kids, Tom McManaman, their quarterback, and Brian Petralia and Bill Spang, their two running backs. But they do have quarterback Anthony Moschia back from last year's team, as well as lineman Brian Millay. Those are both two really good kids, so they'll be good as well. As far as the other teams in the league goes, Reading, Stoneham, and Lexington, and maybe Winchester will all be middle-of-the-pack teams, I think, like they were last year. And the other teams will just be looking to improve on kind of subpar seasons last year. So that's a quick synopsis of the preseason picks for the Middlesex League this year.
So Burlington, Kenny, middle of the pack? With this many
I'd like to think they'll be league champs again, and I hope they do. Most likely they'll be right up there competing for the league title. I think when our newspaper does do a coaches poll on the weekend after Labor Day, as we're preparing for our preseason football supplement, and we poll all 10 coaches how they think the teams are going to finish 1 through 10.
Right.
And at that time, it'll become evident as to where Burlington will be picked. I would say right now, second, third, or fourth is most likely where the coaches are going to pick Burlington this year.
Because I always look at that Bill Ricker game, that first game of the season, always kind of tells me where Burlington is. Bill Ricker is a smash mouth football type of team.
Oh.
And when Burlington plays them, you can pretty much, Kenny, almost predict the season on how they're going to do. I mean, last year they handled them very well. It was a good game. But Burlington went on to the Super Bowl. The year before, they got kind of whacked around a little bit. And
Yeah.
so Bill Ricker is kind of the litmus test at the beginning of the year on how Burlington's going to stack up against some of the talent. And again, they have Wakefield as the third game, but really they don't run into the Lexington, the Woburns until almost near the end of the season, which
Woburns next to last
next
again.
to last, which could be a good thing for Burlington because it'll allow those kids to mature, during the season and get a little experience going into
It's
that
always
Woburn
better
game.
playing the lower teams early
Exactly.
and the better teams later in
Right,
the year,
exactly.
believe me.
And I'm always skeptical. I mean, Reading just, we always every year, but Reading always comes up with. Last year was the first time since we've been doing this show that they were a middle of the pack type of team because, for whatever reason, Kenny, they have the talent there. They just the coaching. They're there at the final. So last year, for the first time, they fell kind of back into the pack, but.
Well, they ran out of Pizzottis.
Yeah,
as well as Coach Kaz.
Those are those Italian cookies, aren't they? I love them.
Well, they'll be good. They'll be competitive.
And again, a Malden Catholic, we had just got some info. They were 4-6 last year overall, and 1-3 in the Catholic Conference. So, it'll be interesting to see how that Malden Catholic fits in for a Watertown, whether they're a little bit more competitive than a Watertown. I imagine they would be, just being in the Catholic League and the competition.
If they're willing to play Middlesex League teams like Burlington and Woburn, I would anticipate they'd be at least competitive.
Right.
They may not win every game, but they'll be competitive.
It's interesting. You always hear about their hockey teams, but I've never heard anything really about their football teams. So this will be interesting to see how they do. Unless their hockey players actually come out to play, and then that wouldn't be very fair because they're going to get stuck. Their skates will get stuck in the turf.
But I mean,
it wouldn't work.
But I was looking at the results from last year, and really the only team, they were competitive in most of these games. The only team that really blew them out was Xavier. A 50-6 score. So, they
so you have the Malden Catholic season.
Yeah, season. And they played a lot of the Somervilles, the Peabodys, Medford, BC High, St. John's Prep, Franklin.
Well, they played some good.
So they played some decent teams, and I mean, obviously they were 4-6 overall, but they were competitive with these. So I think you're right, Kenny. They will definitely be competitive in the Middlesex League, playing the Burlingtons and Woburns.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the automatic check like when you were playing Watertown.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be kind of interesting then. Interesting to see. So anyways, that Bill Ricker game you were talking about, as I look at our varsity football schedule, is Friday, September 7th. It is at Bill Ricker. And it looks like the first home game is Friday, September 14th against Arlington.
Yeah.
So, and then homecoming is what, like October 5th, something like that? Is that the homecoming game against Reading?
Reading, yeah.
Usually it's that first game in October, something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I believe it is, because I don't think it's the Malden Catholic game. I think the homecoming game is the following week, which is the Reading game.
Yeah. No, it was very upsetting to me coming in here to BCAT tonight. I passed by all those rocks behind the high school, where the kids put their names up every year, and not a single Kaplan was on any rock.
Ooh,
Not
empty
one.
nester.
Empty rock syndrome I'm having now. But at least I know if there's going to be leftovers, those leftovers will be there the next
You'll have
day.
all the apple crisp you want
all
there,
that
Cappy.
I want, yeah. All right.
So actually, just looking at the schedule too, the schedule actually favors. They're going to have 6 home games and 5 away. So, as a young team, that would maybe
That's why it's good that
as a
Watertown
plus.
dropped out. It would have been. They would have only had 5 home games.
Right,
They got an
right.
extra home game.
Right.
They would have been at Watertown.
And
Now they won't
Woburn
be.
is home this year in
Malden
Burlington. So.
Yeah. So, Ken, how long have you been doing this for?
I became the Burlington football beat writer in 2000. So this is my 8th year doing just Burlington.
Yeah.
But my sports writing goes all the way back to 1987 when I first joined. 20 years ago,
you
I
were
joined
10 years
Daily
old,
Times
then, yeah.
Chronicle. I'm a little older than that, Cappy. You know.
Can't be much older than that.
But anyway, I started actually in 1990. No, 1989. My first football beat was Northeast Regional, and they played teams like Georgetown and
Okay, wait.
Georgetown, I remember, was one. And
Rowley.
Whittier Tech. Nobody was there. Nobody was there. You'd go to the game, empty. There was a PA announcer, a scoreboard operator, and me. That was it. That was my experience. And then I did that for a couple of years. Then I'd be a fill-in for a couple of Middlesex League games, usually involving Wakefield or Reading. And I think I did Burlington once or twice. And then finally, when the kid that did Burlington before me, what was his name? Steve Toby. He left after during the 1999 season to do the dual county league for one of those papers in the Beacon Communications Circuit. So they needed someone, and I felt it was a perfect fit for me because, you know, I live in the area, I work in the area, and I as a former Lexington High graduate, I know the Lexington-Burlington rivalry very well. So I felt it was a perfect fit, and that's why.
Good. What other sports you covering this year?
Basketball again,
Yeah.
as I usually do.
Good.
And I also do field hockey in the fall and indoor track in the winter and softball in the spring.
Oh, so you're
For all the local teams.
Yeah.
So they keep you busy.
Yeah, keeps me busy.
Plus your regular job.
Oh yeah, and I've also got another full-time job. So.
You also have another job besides this job?
Oh yeah. I'm an accounting clerk as well.
Okay. Well, you know, the things you'll learn about people when you bring them in a sports school. You know, and so this is not your full-time job.
Believe it or not, it's not. It's just part-time.
Just part-time. You know, I'll be a son of a gun. So, you know, folks, you've heard it here first. Those of you who wondered, what does Ken do for a full-time job when he's not writing?
Now we know.
Again, you can hold your applause, kids. You know.
Well, it's always good to see you on the field and around the games and stuff because
Sure.
I know that you're keeping track of all the stats and you have your little...
Oh yeah, my red book will be back for I write down what happens every play.
Yeah.
I have to because I have to do a box score that'll be in the paper every day
Right,
after the game.
and the word always was, I mean, the guys who would play would always look for the daily on Monday,
Right.
so they could see how many tackles they made and what a
Oh,
great
yeah.
game they had, and
That's right.
yeah, so that was always there as well.
Oh yeah, got to have the tackles. Makes it a challenge. I got to see it not only who carried the ball but who made the tackle.
Yeah, so you're actually busy. Can you even actually enjoy a game?
Yeah, I can. As long as they don't run that no huddle too often.
Right? 'Cause, oh my God, what was that?
Yeah, that coaches.
Yeah.
That makes it a challenge when I'm writing down one play and the next play's already going off.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
Then it gets tough. But other than that, it's usually I don't have too much of
Well, what if you just use one of those little digital, okay, on this play, you know, so-and-so ran for 5, and then you can just copy it down afterwards.
An idea, Cappy, an idea. Maybe I'll
So we're
actually.
we're just full of ideas.
That's right. We got
here.
them all tonight.
Yeah,
Well,
we have lots of-
you got that older wisdom for me, so maybe I'll take you up on it.
Yes, the older wisdom.
older
Yes, thank you.
wisdom,
That didn't pass me by.
Ooh.
All right, so listen, I think we're just about done with the first half. So Ken Kotelly, thank you so much for being here from the Daily Burlington paper. We appreciate you coming by.
Sure, no problem
And I
at
know
all.
you have to go cover some prom or something, or something
I
else
wish.
is happening, but it's equally important. But thank you, and folks, we're going to be right back. It's going to be me and Paul for the second half, but it is a live call-in show, so get that number, and we'd love to hear your calls, but we'll see you in just a couple minutes.
I didn't want to wrinkle my outfit.
I was in a rush.
I can't find the other half of it.
I always use it for the kids, but not for me. I take my chances. I don't need them.
I was just going to the corner store.
I don't believe in seatbelts.
I didn't know it was the law.
It doesn't matter what your excuse is. Safety belts are the law in Massachusetts. Click it or ticket. Massachusetts is serious about saving lives.
Are you aware that Burlington Cable Access Television, the same station that has been bringing you the best in community-based television programming, is just a mouse click away on the World Wide Web? Come visit us at www.bcattv.org, where you will find useful information such as our programming, how to contact us, maybe even find some snapshots of your friends and neighbors from one of the community events. That's www.bcattv.org.
Carbon monoxide is a silent killer that unfortunately kills too many people each year. We're asking residents that they install a carbon monoxide detector in their home. We have, over the last week or so, had a high number of residential activations in people's homes. When they have gone down to investigate, they have found some pretty high levels in some of the homes. Carbon monoxide is something that you can't see, you can't taste, and you can't smell. We ask them that they have them in the vicinity of the bedrooms and in the hallways to have it hardwired in battery backup, but if you can't, then the battery ones are sufficient enough. They do work and they're very efficient.
Right. And we're back, folks, and it's me and Paul.
Here we are.
And your calls will be really appreciated because we're not quite sure what we have to talk about. Actually, since we haven't been here for a couple of months, there is a ton of stuff to talk about on the professional level. But before that, regular viewers, if you remember, toward the end of last year, we had Coochie, and we had one other guy.
I remember what it's.
And we were betting on, it was track and field. We were betting on whether they were going to be able to leave their meet in time to take the two girls from their jobs at Abercrombie and Finch to their prom in Chelmsford.
Chelmsford, right.
And big money was on them. We never heard back from them, so we didn't know what was happening.
We don't know if they made the prom because they were doing the flowers there. One of them, his uncle, was running a flower shop or something, so they were supposed to have the flowers ready, but they had the meet. They weren't sure if they could get to the meet, get changed, picked up the girls, picked the flowers up,
and
get to the...
Wasn't Harrington the other one? Because Linda Harrington called in.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're all betting, and rumor has it, and I think this comes from our crack producer, Corey, rumor has it that they did not make the prom, and to make it up to the girls, they had to take them out for a very expensive night out in the town later on that week.
So that must have been a hard sell because these girls had their dresses, the flowers, and everything all lined up for this prom, and these guys never showed up from Burlington. So that had to be. I wouldn't think it went over too big in the Chelmsford homes up there.
I'm sure fur was flying.
Yeah. Then, so we'll have to get confirmation on that though, because we had money that they weren't going to make.
We had big money.
Yeah, our money was on definite no show.
No way they were going to do that.
Not with the time frame that they were talking about. We were talking like a 10 to 15 minute grace period.
Yeah,
I don't think it was going to happen.
So you see the number on the screen. If anyone knows anything about that, we would appreciate a call in just to confirm what actually happened. And there are a lot of homes a lot emptier now in Burlington because a lot of the kids have gone on to college from the senior year. And this will be the first year for me personally where I don't really know any of the kids because my kids are all gone.
Right, yeah. This Pompwana crew that you had last year was basically the last year that you knew those kids. So we'll make it a challenge this year, a whole new crew coming up.
I'm going to have to go back to filming Pompwana games again just so I recognize everyone.
But I guess from a professional sports, we can probably start there with Rich. With the we'll start with the Red Sox. I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride here of late, but this last weekend really just kind of turned things around.
I'll tell you, after they had 8 hits. They could only put across 1 run
against Tampa Bay.
I think after that game, I don't know what they talked about in the locker room. But they came out and scored about 45 runs over the next 4 games.
It was something bizarre. They outscored them like 47-6 over the 4 games, and I'll tell you that panic button was in a lot of households because people were getting ready to hit the panic button right after Tampa. They're saying, okay, they're going to go into Chicago. They're going to lose 3 out of 4 in Chicago, and then the Yankees are going to sweep them. And you're hearing all these things. Well, it never happened. They took 4 from Chicago in convincing fashion.
Really, yeah.
They actually have a day off today. New York is playing tonight, so they could actually go into New York with a 7.5 game lead
Well, they're up 7-8
I'm
now.
7.5. They can go in with an 8
With
game.
an 8 game,
Eight game if New York loses tonight. And
Are they still
they're,
playing
they're
Detroit?
playing Detroit, and they have Messina going tonight, who's had a rough time the last couple starts.
I'll tell you, but Detroit is really showing they're a team to contend with, though.
They got Verlander going tonight, and he's one of their top pitchers. He's
Yeah.
13-6, I believe, and so that should be a good game. And and again, Boston is already in New York. They had the day, so they're in New York. They're rested up and ready to go. Rotation is set up perfectly because they're starting right off with the top of the pitching rotation. With they're going to go with Beckett, Schilling, and Dice K in this series. So you got your 3 horses going for you.
Yeah.
They're starting to hit. They rest Manny last night, so Manny's well rested. I think, Rich, even if they just take one game out of this series, I mean, New York has got to play like 700 ball from here on in to catch them. And the pitching is really what would carry the Sox, and that's really been. So Ganji, what's his name? Ganji?
Ganji, yeah.
Whatever. Gagny
with a spoon.
He's been tough, but the last 2 or 3 times he's come in, he's pitched well for him. So I mean, hopefully he's going to be worth the price that they paid, because they gave up, Gabbett, who was a decent pitcher, and this kid, I'll tell you, I love this kid Murphy that they gave up, and he had 5 hits the other night in that 30-2 game that they won. But this kid Murphy was a ball player, and saw him a lot at Portland the last couple of years, and he's a good ball player. So, but hopefully this guy reliever can fill in here for him.
Gaffney.
No, we're still not. It's G-A. I always have a mental block with it. It's G-A-G-N-E or something.
I know people have been calling him Gag Me with a spoon.
Gag Me with a spoon, but he's coming. He's one of the premier relievers, and you go with Pap and him, on alternate nights, and you have Okie Dokie there, which is there's a new song out now. Supposedly they're gonna be playing at Fenway Park, the Okie Dokie something. Yeah. But he's been a find for him, because you have him as a setup, and
he's great.
He's been great. He's got a 1.82 ERA, and just been a great sequence. You go to him in the 8th inning. Timlin's been pitching well. That whole bullpen.
I'll tell you, it's going to be, if your starter can get you through 6, then we got the 7th, 8th, and 9th covered by different pitchers. And
I think the surprise pitcher on that whole staff has been Wakefield this year.
Oh, I was going to say.
I mean, he's got 16 wins, and he's tied for the league in wins with Beckett.
Yeah, and the other thing is, he gets every decision. He's 16-10. He's pitched in 26 games.
He's been unbelievable. I mean, he was flirting with a no-hitter in one of the games. He went into the 8th inning with a no-hitter and with a knuckleball. He's had Mirabelli, who's been hurt. This kid Cash comes up and catches a great game against him. And preserves the win, and he's just been lights out.
But the thing, what's got to be funny is you're trying to hit Wakefield for 6-7 innings. All right, let's say they pull him out. They bring in Papelbon or even
Del Carmen's been coming in 100 miles an hour, close to it.
I'll tell you,
After you see this thing floating for 7 innings.
That's right. You see this thing; it's kind of like a rocket.
All of a sudden, their fastball looks like about 200 miles an hour when they come in.
It's got to.
So I mean, it's been a great setup with that, because Del Carmen's been pitching very well. So between Del Carmen and Okie Dokie there, and then you bring Pap in, and it's things have been falling into place, and they're starting to get the hitting. Coco Crisp is starting to really play well defensively. He's been lights out.
Drew is still kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, I just
I hope he does. I hope he picks it up.
For the money they paid him, Rich, I mean, this guy should have been lights out, and he's been a tough. I can't put my finger on. He just seems so like nonchalant. I don't know. There's just something missing with him that just doesn't click, And who knows? I mean, like, they own him for another 3 years, so.
Yeah. So they better figure something out.
They better figure something out quick, because nobody's going to pick him up for the money they're paying him.
No.
They're not going to be able to trade this guy, and it's too bad, because they have some talent down in the minor leagues that could, they're going to have to find a place for this Ellsbury next year, Jacoby Ellsbury.
Yeah.
And
they got a couple of pitchers in their system that are.
This kid Matheson and Burkholdt, both coming up. So, because Schilling is going to be on the fence on what happens with Schilling. I mean, he's talking about pitching another year. The Sox are waiting. They're looking at him right now and saying, see if he's got anything left in the tank.
Yeah.
I doubt. My personal feeling is I doubt that they're going to sign him for
For big money?
For big money for
No.
2 years. I don't think so. And he was actually talking about going to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that, but so Schilling's kind of on the fence. You know, Wakefield will be back again for another year. Guy's going to win. He's going to probably come close to 20 wins this year. As what, the 4th starter on the team?
That's incredible.
Amazing.
A knuckleballer. He is amazing. He really is.
And he's the type of guy that wear and tear in your arm as a knuckleball pitcher.
Oh, he can pitch till he's like 90 years old.
Yeah. So he's going to be around, and you know, Beckett's been has had a premier year.
Yeah.
You know, Daisuke's had some tough luck. He's pitched some great games, but you know, you look at 3 of the losses have been against Tampa Bay. They haven't been able to get runs. He's the only pitcher in the league that's lost to Tampa 3 times.
I know.
And this is a guy that's 13 wins, Rich.
Yeah, and the run production for him. You know, every year there's always a pitcher that doesn't seem to get the run support behind him. And
It was Wakefield last year.
Yeah.
So it looks like Daisuke this year. I mean, the other night they left 14 runners on in Tampa Bay. They lose 2-1. He had, what, 8 or 10 strikeouts. He pitched a heck of a game. He only gave up 2 hits, and one of them was a home run.
Yeah,
and that cost him the game. So we shall see.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the Red Sox have been a lot of fun to watch this year.
They really have. You know, and again, there was nervousness out there because they had that big 14-game lead, and Yankees were chipping away at it, and they were starting to get. I mean, they got it down to 4 games.
Yeah.
I mean, it's back up to 7.5 now. Could go to 8. You know, when they start to seal. So now they get a little breathing room. So now they can go into New York, because I have to think that they still remember last year when. They were in the pennant race, Rich. They lost 5 straight to them, and that was they never recovered from that. The season was done.
So this year, this is going to be a real nice series. I think they're going to come in and really be serious. You know, Yankees hit that stretch where they're playing a lot of below 500 teams, and they're able to put a lot of runs together for that. Now we came into a stretch. We were playing Seattle. We were playing.
The California and LA and stuff. So they were playing some decent teams.
Yeah, and that switched around a little bit. Now we're kind of bottom grazing, and the Yankees are playing Detroit. So you know.
And they were saying that I believe there's like 28 games left. 18 of them are at home.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they have Tampa Bay another 6 or 8 times or something ridiculous. They got
know,
Baltimore, Toronto, so it's nice. Because after this series in New York, I think they only have New York one more time, I think, at home.
Yeah.
And they'll finish up the Yankee series. But the pressure's going to be on the Yankees this weekend. I mean, this next 3 games, because they have to sweep. You know, anything short of a sweep is really not going to do them any good. They'll, at best, you know, they'll pick up a game. You know, so and that's what the Red Sox are looking at.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun, and they'll probably be on network TV and get those high definition sets all cooking because it's going to be terrific.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'll tell you, what a year to be in New England. With the Red Sox doing what they're doing, the Patriots, everybody,
Patriots are exciting. We'll talk about them next quarter.
And then the Celtics we got to talk about because
Celtics, they pull off this blockbuster. They go from you to probably one of the oldest teams in the league. I mean, they went
0 to hero.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, on paper it looks great, but you know, Kevin Garnett, again, one of the premier players in the league, and there's a lot of teams that were, you know, sour grapes that they didn't get him. So the Lakers were one. The Lakers wanted him bad.
Oh, yeah.
And,
so what does Ainge have on McHale that
he must have did something, I'll tell you, because, I mean, that's going to be a Boston North team. I mean, they have six players up there, you know, that they have that were 6 or 7 players that were former Celtics.
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
It will be interesting, and, you know, the hype around the Celtics and the hype around everyone is extreme, but a good year to be in New England with New England sports.
Sure.
So what do you say? We're going to take our break right now. Then we're going to come back, and we got plenty of Patriots and Celtics stuff to talk about. So we'll be back in just a minute. Stay tuned.
Hey! Excuse me.
Your local library has all the information you need, and some you don't.
Honey, would you get me some ice cream?
Ice cream?
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some things you just can't do without. It happens every night, all across America. Thousands of kids in this country have everything it takes to go to college, except the money. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Do you know who I am? Am I a P or a D? A Q, perhaps? Or a B? I am dyslexia, and millions of kids struggle with me every time they read. Call now to help your child manage his learning disability. There's no reason to be held back.
Yeah.
And we're back with last quarter action here for our first show of the 2007-2008 season. You can call in. I know some of you are surprised to realize we're on live, and the rest of you have got to build up your telephone steam for the season. So remember, we are back, and we're going to be back in a couple of weeks, which I think is September something, 8th or whatever that is. But anyways, we do, before I forget, I was handed a note by our crack producer, Corey McNeil, and I do have some people that we want to thank for crewing tonight. This is Crew 52, our director, Chris the Man Flaherty. Chris, way to direct. On audio, Stephen McNeil, brother of the famous Corey McNeil, as you might know. We already thanked and recognized Jeremy Cox. And graphics, we have Sir St. John the 15th Jr., who's on graphics. So St. John, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for coming in and crewing. And as the school year gets going, we actually have a couple of new interns this year who will be taking turns. They are in middle school for now, I think.
Oh, the two kids that did the hockey.
Right.
Yeah.
These guys are pretty sharp, and they know their sports, and they know they're in tune with the local folks. So we plan to get a lot of good gossip about kids going on. September 10th, thank you. Our next show will be September 10th. We're hoping to get the football captains on and talk a little more about the season. Remember, it's your calls that make the show, because I can't make fun of you unless you call in. So remember that. So anyway, so Paul, we've got the Pats and the Celtics.
Yeah, we'll start with the Pats. The Pats, they had a great game this third game, really.
Yeah.
I mean, things were, but again, people take a lot into it. I mean, that second game, they were saying, Brady, offensive line was breaking down. They're chasing Brady around, but he had a lot of starters that didn't play. They only played a couple series, and they were out of there. And this third game, most of the teams, the third game, they usually played their starters for at least 3 quarters. And we saw the Pats against the Carolina team pretty much dominate them for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Brady on target. He's got the new weapons this year, though we haven't seen Moss. We haven't seen. So Moss he played practiced the first week, come up with the hamstring injury. He's been out for 3 weeks now. So that connection might take a couple games to work into, but he's got enough of the receivers from, he's got Stallworth, who's been fantastic. And the guy Caldwell, some of these guys from last year are playing well. Defensively, they look like ferocious. I mean, these guys are probably one of the best defenses in the league this year, I think.
I understand Asante Samuels is coming back.
There was a rumor that he was supposed to, I hadn't seen anything today. There was a rumor that he was supposed to be maybe signing today, which, again, makes sense. How can you walk away from $7.8 million, Rich, guaranteed money?
Yeah.
I mean, he's crying about being a franchise player and it's going to ruin him, but this guy didn't even make $1 million last year, and he's got $7.9 million on the table, guaranteed for 1 year.
Yeah, and a team that
potentially
could go all the way. Yeah.
I mean, and it just blows my mind. So, with him coming back into the fold, that was really one of the, the only areas that they really needed to tighten up on, because there were some question marks back there in the secondary with, with Gay back there moving in a starting position. Samuel comes back, that just adds depth now to that position.
Yeah, yeah.
The linebacking core looks, Bruschi is playing like a pup.
Well, he's
his hand is healed this year.
Yeah.
Playing like a pup. Grable's looking great. Colvert looking good. And
the new guy, what's his name? The monster.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Terrible.
What do we know? Who's the name of the new guy from we picked up, linebacker?
But anyways, he's playing well too as a stud, and Junior
Seau is still there. Yeah.
Playing like a pup out there and playing well. So, the key's going to be the one guy. Again, we say it always, but the one guy, Brady. Yeah. Brady cannot go down because after that, Caldwell doesn't have the experience. They have Testaverde, but Testaverde is no more than a Band-Aid for a game or two if something happened. And
I'll tell you, and Brady, he's got to stop making babies. That's the thing.
Brady's got to start getting serious now. He's got a lot on his plate right now to think about. He just had the son that was born with the old girlfriend. He's still going out with a new girlfriend, and their last game is coming up this Thursday night against the Giants, and then they start playing for real.
Yeah. Well, you kind of wonder, what was it? What's this baby business? With the first girlfriend, she must have known they were on the skids. Do you think she got pregnant on purpose?
I don't know. Who knows?
We need people who know these things to call in and tell us.
But they open up against the Jets, and I'll tell you, Mancini, that's going to be a tough game. There's that big rivalry between Boston and New York. Now you have the big coaches, rivalry with the coaches now with Eric Mancini and Belichick. So that's going to be a tough opening game, and they played the Pats tough last year.
Yeah, they did
in both games.
Really
so again, that ought to be an interesting contest. Opening up against the Jets.
It should be. And I understand the Colts lost one of their big linemen.
One of the big linemen. He went down with injury. Again, he's gone for the year. But they also lost 3 starters, I believe, off that defense from last year that was signed as free agent by other teams. So they might have. So Manning's probably not going to have to score not only what he did last year, but probably a little bit more on top of that to account because their defense is weak this year.
Yeah.
With those losses, but the Pats again should. I'm looking at the schedule. They're just scary on paper. The talent that they have on that team right now, and it'll be very interesting. The kicker is settling down. This is his second year now, so he's settling down, having a good spring here.
New punter.
Miller, they cut, so they have this new punter, and this kid's got supposedly a huge leg here for kicking. So again, and the only other question that really comes in is the running back, Maroney, coming in. He's coming off a shoulder surgery.
Right.
So he really, this last game, the third game, was really his first game playing. So there's some, and he did well. They said he really looked well, but again, a little thin at the running back position right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that, and they have the cut coming up. They're at, I believe they have to get down to 58 players, I think, by the end of after this game Thursday.
Yeah.
They're at 75 now. So this is the big cut coming up, and.
Every so often somebody throws out a statement like, "Isn't this Belichick's last year on his contract?"
Well, they love to stir. I don't know what it is about this town, but they love to stir up controversy and just negative stuff. They just look for negative stuff to write about. It's just
isn't that scary though?
You listen to guys, like Shaughnessy and stuff. This guy is like he's like doom and gloom every time you listen to him. He looks for. He always looks for something that is negative, and he's been ragging on the Sox now until this last weekend that they were going to fold against the Yankees, and it's just a matter of time. And, and again, now they're looking at the Belichick deal. Well, they haven't signed him. They don't know what year he is on his contract, if he's got one more year left or this is it. And, is he planning to go out on top? And it's like and Belichick has never gave any indication whether this was his last year or not, or had any indication.
No, he doesn't talk about it. But I'll tell you something. If he was out on the free market, he'd have a line of teams.
Yeah.
People would just be bringing him carloads of money.
Yeah.
To ask him.
But he's got such a great situation here in New England, and he works with Scott Pauley, who does is the GM there, and they work well together. And he's got such a great relationship with Kraft.
Oh, with the ownership, and plus he's built this thing.
Yeah.
He keeps building it.
That's right.
Why would you want to leave it?
Exactly. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people sometimes, I guess, I don't know if you ever get tired. I can't say how you'd ever get tired of winning championships.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's what the ultimate goal is.
Listen, when you get more rings and fingers, then sure.
Well, sometimes some of these guys get a huge ego, though, Rich, too, and they think that, you know, they'll go into like an Oakland that hasn't won in like 20 years or something, and it's that challenge to go in there and I'm Bill Belichick and I'll make this, you know, it's like a challenge to him.
Right.
And who knows? I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, you know, every so often the word genius gets tossed around a lot in coaching, and there's really only been a couple of real coaching geniuses. I know, of course, from the old Green Bay.
Sure, the Lombardi era.
Lombardi.
Then you had Walsh up in
From San Francisco.
You know,
Even Parcells, when he was on, was a real football genius.
And Chuck Knowles there in Pittsburgh. And, you know, so you had, there were like different eras, but, you know, Belichick is right up there with them all.
He is. He really is.
You know.
And so I'd love to see him stay here for another 10 more years.
Yeah, kind of retire from here. It would be nice.
That would be nice.
But, you know, he's trying to keep the hype down because they are, you know, every paper that you read and every poll that you look at,
Super Bowl winners.
they're the runaway favorite, okay, to end up in the Super Bowl and win it all. So that's a tremendous amount of pressure to put on a team, you know, the Pats.
Right.
And they don't have an easy schedule. You
know. No. Well, you know, and he is good, I think, at trying to keep the guys focused. You know, I'm sure he's out there going, look, guys, we start this season the same record as every other team.
That's right.
We haven't won anything.
That's right. Exactly right.
Yeah, and he's real good at that.
Yeah.
He's real good at trying to keep the guys away from the media, except when it's, you know, the
he pretty much puts a gag order on them that these guys really can't talk. And the same thing with the assistant coaches. These guys cannot talk to the press unless they get his approval to talk, and then it's limited on what they can say.
Yeah, which is good because
exactly.
Yeah, because you know what the media does with anything.
They'll twist anything around, and you get somebody, you know, like a player on there that will come out and say, you know, we're going to win it. Next thing you know, it's in the headlines. Pat's going to win it all. So says, you know, Joe Schmo here, and next thing you know, it's on the bulletin board of the New York Jets, okay, and it's saying, hey, they don't think anything. You know, they disrespected us, and they're going to walk all over us. And next thing you know, you get this big controversy. But the Jets are going to be a challenge for them the first game. Yeah. That ought to be, you know, set the tone for the season on how they're going to play.
Yeah, it will. It'll be real nice. Well, I would have liked to have had a couple more highlight DVDs from the Patriots before this era ends.
Yeah.
I still, one of those, I'm getting over it, but Rashay Caldwell, I still wake up screaming when I see the ball bouncing over him and his like deer in headlights.
And I'll tell you, he's having probably one of the better training camps of the receivers there right now because he knows the system and he's been playing well. So you know, he's in the mix again to make that team. We'll see.
Yeah. I think I would have publicly executed it myself, but that's just me, you know.
But then real quick, while we just got a minute here, we're wrapping up. Celtics pull off the blockbuster trade of,
really?
I mean, they just went and Ainge got the man that they were looking for in Kevin Garnett. So he's the superstar. They put the Allen around him, and they got Pierce. So the thing is that they don't have much of a bench right now because they traded the whole team to get this guy. there's only you starting 5 and a couple other guys. So they got to come up with a couple more bodies here to kind of fill out that second team because these guys are not going to be playing 48 minutes on a regular basis. You'll kill them by the middle of the year. But you got to give them credit. They went out and they got the guy, and we'll see what happens,
We'll
Rich.
see what happens. So anyways, it is time for us to go. Again, this is our first show of the 07-08 season. We're glad you could join us. We have a full season of high school sports coming up, along with professional sports, and it should be a very, very exciting year. So for Paul Strati and myself, I want to thank you for tuning in, and stay with us because from now on, every other week, Monday evenings, we want to see you here. Take care, and we'll see you during the regular season.